Joining me now live in the studio is member for Fowler, the independent MP Dai. Lee, thanks for your time. Let's start with the tax cuts going through the Parliament. How's this been received? A broken promise, but helping more taxpayers. How's it received in your seat?
Look, I mean, I did a very kind of quick polling on Instagram, and about 67% of the population support the stage 3 tax cut. So I think it's good that the government change their minds. I mean, last year when I was calling for this, the government wasn't going to move on it, but it is. But the problem for me, though, Kieran, is that it's not going to come into effect till the 1st of July. Now, what can we do now to address the cost of living, the soaring food costs in food, the soaring costs in rent, petrol prices, even tollways. So for me, for our community in Western Sydney, and in particular my Fowler community, people are feeling the pains constantly when they go out there, looking after their families or just looking after themselves. It's a daily struggle.
So anything that would help will be well received.
Yes,
so the tax cuts in that sense?
That's in that sense, but they have to wait till the 1st of July. And then, for us as elected representatives, you look at it and you analyse, you think, well, is $15 really going to be enough? Right? $15 really, what can you buy today for $15? Yes, people are probably appreciative that there is some money in the pocket, but that's not going to cover the cost of the hike in electricity prices, which we're all seeing, the hike in gas prices, the hike in food costs, the hike in rental accommodation. So those things, the government has to really look at policies to address those issues, the cost of living crisis.
You were at the news conference with Andrew Wilkie and Bob Katter. They're pushing a bill to reduce the dominance of the supermarket giants. It's obviously a lot of feedback, as you've alluded to already, from your constituents that it's hurting a lot of people, the prices right now.
Oh, look, you now you have to pay so much more for far less in your supermarket baskets. I don't know about you, Kieran, but when I go shopping now, I look for the price that's going to be 20% off for meat, for instance, minced meat, or for fruit and vegetables. You look for the sales because it's so out of reach for people to buy the cost that it is. The bill that the member for Kennedy and the member for Clark was talking about was about reducing that dominance, but also at the same time addressing the fairness for producers.
Well, they dressed up as pigs today. You don't see that every day.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Pigs with their snouts in the trough is the way that they're describing the supermarket giants. Do you agree with that assessment?
Look, I think I agree in terms of the money that supermarket giants are making from the food to ordinary Australians, ordinary day Australians who are really working so hard. And I have to tell you, my community in Fowler, the economic backbone of this country, is just struggling in working in manufacturing industry, working in retail, working in the front line, nurses, teachers, ambulance drivers, all of that. It's just, and you go to buy your food to feed your family, you can't. I mean, the member for Kooyong said correctly, you promote to feed your family for $10, but for $10 you buy a pack of cheese, or you're going to feed your family with a pack of cheese.
What's the view in your seat, just finally, on the emissions vehicle standards that the government's proposing? Has that been well received by voters, or do they know what this is about yet?
Look, the voters are not, the majority of voters are just working. The majority of our voters are using cars, petrol-fuelled cars, to drive to work. At the moment, from my perspective, whatever policies we do, we need to ensure that it doesn't impact the cost of living for the majority of working Australians. It's great to have the fuel efficiency bill, but how does that actually flow down to ordinary working Australians? What does it impact? How does it impact them financially? We're all for the environment. We're all for making sure that we have, emissions, down. But how do we make sure that people also can carry on and work and look after their families?